we use take up to accept an offer or a challenge. And here the verb is separable. Thanks for your kind offer to help. I'll take you up on that, as I accept your offer. Or he challenged his sister to a race. She took him up on it and won. So that's the challenge that was accepted. We also use take up when someone or something occupies a certain amount of space. We can also use that something requires not just space but also time. And in this usage, the verb is not separable. The new printer takes up a lot of space in the office, as it occupies a lot of space. Well, my whole morning was taken up with a really boring meeting. So here's the time example, that this boring meeting lasted the whole morning. We also take up hobbies and activities when we start them. And here the verb is not separable. I feel a lot better since I took up jogging. So here someone has started jogging for some exercise, and since doing this, I feel healthier. Or Paula took up judo as a child and is now an instructor. So she started this judo when she was a child as a hobby or an activity, and now as an adult she works as an instructor. We also use take up when we address an issue or a problem. And here the verb is separable. I will have to take your complaint up with the manager. In other words, I can't deal with your problem, I have to get the manager. I'll pass it on to him. Or we should take this matter up with our lawyer. So they should address the issue or problem. We also use take up to shorten an item of clothing. And here the verb is separable. Can you take my trousers up a bit, please? They're a bit too long. Or her dress was getting dirty, so she took it up to keep it off the floor. If you remember before, we had take in, which was to make it smaller. And this is similar, but we're making it shorter. Right? There is a difference. And the last one is when we resume an activity following an interruption. And here the verb is separable. Let's take this up again tomorrow after a good sleep. Maybe we've been spending all day trying to solve this problem. We're getting tired and not getting anywhere. Best thing we can do is go home, have a good sleep, and then continue in the morning. And we say, let's take this up again tomorrow. Or each book in the series takes up where the previous one finished. So book 2 follows on from book 1. Book 3 follows on from book 2, and so on. To take apart. Take apart only has 3 different meanings. And we conjugate take apart as follows. In the infinitive, to take apart. The present participle, taking apart. The past tense, took apart. And the past participle, taken apart. If we take something apart, we dismantle it. And here the verb is separable. So Peter took his trumpet apart to give it a good clean. Or Sandra took her computer apart to see if she could fix it herself. I think fairly clear examples. We also use to take apart if you defeat someone by a large margin or very easily, and this someone can also be a team. And here the verb is separable. The boxer took his opponent apart in the first round. It was not pretty. So the boxer won easily in the first round. So he took his opponent apart. We were soundly thrashed by the other team. they made taking us apart look so easy. Again, this is this sense of a very easy victory over somebody. Again, we're speaking metaphorically here. We're not literally taking them apart. You can also use this when you critically analyze something to find flaws or mistakes or weaknesses. And here the verb is separable. Our boss tried to explain why we couldn't get a pay rise. We took his arguments apart in 2 minutes, but our pay still didn't improve. So the boss basically tried to make up some nonsense about why he didn't want to pay anymore, and they looked at his arguments, realized they were nonsense, only took them 2 minutes, but the boss stayed stubborn and didn't help them. Well, the critics didn't like her new book and took it apart in the reviews. This is slightly, I think we need to explain this one. So somebody wrote a book and the critics didn't like it and they gave her very bad reviews. And this, the way we explain this is to also say, and took it apart in the reviews rather than just gave her bad reviews. So in addition to giving it a bad review, they really looked into it and critically analyzed it and pointed out all the flaws and the mistakes in it as well. To take back has 4 different meanings. And here's how we conjugate take back. Infinitive to take back. Present participle taking back. Past tense took back. Past participle taken back. If we to return something, often because it's faulty or broken. And here the verb is separable. My new phone didn't work, so I took it back to the shop for a refund. Oh, can you also take this book back to the library when you go? So in this case, the book wasn't faulty or broken. We just finished reading it and asked someone else if they were going to the library if they could take it back with them as a favour. You take something back, you withdraw a statement that had been previously made. And here the verb is separable. How dare you? Take that back at once. Well, I'm sorry I said you were fat. I take it back. All right, so you say something, you regret it, and you sort of, as a way of apologizing, you say, I'm sorry, I take it back. Please pretend I didn't say it. We also take back is when we resume a relationship with somebody following a split. And here the verb is separable. I really blew it. Do you think she'll ever take me back? So this is someone, presumably a guy, saying he did something stupid. His girlfriend said, I'm finished with you. And he's wondering if maybe she'll change her mind and take him back and carry on their relationship. Well, I'll give him a second chance and take him back for now. So she says, all right, I'll forgive him. Everyone gets a second chance. I'll take him back. In other words, he can still be my boyfriend for now until he does something stupid again. We also use take back when we get all nostalgic and reminisce about another time or another place. And here the phrasal verb is separable. So hearing that song takes me back to our first dance. So I think someone would say this when they've heard maybe a song on the radio and it reminds them that that was the song that was playing when this couple had their first dance way back when. And you express this by saying, hearing that song takes me back to that time. Well, I haven't been here for over 30 years. It really takes me back. To take after. This has 2 different meanings. We conjugate take after with infinitive to take after, present participle taking after, past tense took after, past participle taken after. Use take after when we copy somebody's habits, and here the verb is not separable. Jane took after her sister and played in the hockey team. I understand this as follows, that Jane has an older sister, and the older sister played in the hockey team, and now Jane's sort of copying that and is also now playing in the hockey team. Well, I hope he doesn't take after his brother and end up in prison. So whoever he is has a brother who's in prison, and the person hopes that he doesn't copy his brother and also end up going to jail. And the second usage of take after is when somebody resembles someone's characteristics, often a physical characteristic. And here the phrasal verb is not separable. Your son doesn't take after you at all. Is he adopted? What they're saying is your son looks nothing like you, and asked if he was adopted. Or you take after your grandfather. You have his eyes. So you physically resemble your grandfather. You've inherited, say, the colour of his eyes. And this is not the same as the first example or the first usage of take after, where someone sort of deliberately does something. This is more accidental, that just happens rather than a deliberate choice. And take over has 3 different meanings. We conjugate take over as follows: infinitive, to take over; present participle, taking over; past tense, took over; past participle, taken over. We use take over, especially in a historical context, to show that one group conquered another group, often a country. And in this use, the phrasal verb is not separable. So France was taken over by Germany during World War II. Or the active version rather than the passive version is Germany took over France during World War II. We also use take over when one company takes control of another company, often by purchasing shares. And here the verb is separable. As a real-life example, Mannesmann was taken over by Vodafone in 2000. Or our main competitor tried to take us over but failed to do so. So they tried to buy lots of shares but didn't buy enough. And take over is also used if we assume the responsibility for something or someone. And in this usage, the verb is not separable. But when my father retired, I took over the running of the company. Whereas I was then the new boss. If you don't feel well, you should go home. I'll take over from here. So one colleague saying to another one, look, if you're not well, just take the rest of the day off. Don't stay here. Go home. I will do the thing that you were doing, or I will take the responsibility for that thing that you were doing.